And the whole idea of the summer solstice is something that I'm going to explore more, hopefully with Joe Friendly, right here in this location. I'm sure minus the swastika, because most of my guests don't like to be associated with this yantra. So what I'm going to do is take this time to really fully explain it. Well, I mean, I don't think you can fully explain. I know you cannot fully explain aspects of Tantra, and Tantra is about creating reality, and it's a mechanism of understanding our consciousness and how our consciousness comes about to move into creation, and what the relationship is between consciousness and energy. And energy, generally they've been divided into male and female. The male is consciousness, or intention, or willpower, or focus. And energy is about change and dynamism and how the world is put together. It's a play of 5 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. And it's not contingent upon anyone's authority. That to get something, you have to give something. It's about alchemy and about changing things. Now, certainly you have to have the focus and the willpower, and certainly willpower and focus without a ground to express itself or an environment to play in. They both need each other. So the highest enlightenment is, the metaphor is, it's the Divine Mother that understands that. And the miracles that Jesus was able to do, he was able to do them because of the Divine Mother. And by Divine Mother, you mean the play of the elements, the play of the change in nature. You're not talking about another deity or another idol. It's independent of authority. Now, when you start to get institutions developing as the ages pass by, and the great masters who were able to exhibit an alignment with the laws of nature, because in truth none of them will say, really, I'm commanding on nature, but saying that they've unfolded the mechanism of the intimacy between their consciousness and the play of everything in creation. So when lesser people come along, but they've inherited positions of great power, the popes and the priests and priestesses too, because I'm sure it happened in the times when the feminine was emphasized. In order not to be threatened, the tendency will be to try to suppress knowledge that will throw light on the fact that the leaders are not that well equipped. And I think Michal Ledwith, who is the Catholic priest famous from the movie What the Bleep Do We Know, when we arranged a meeting between him and a young manifesting master in the south of India, he pointed something out which I didn't understand at the time, because you have to keep in mind their first meeting was not a private meeting, it was on camera. Another valuable piece of our archives that I'm hesitant to put out until I'm feeling that I've got a good connection with the audience, or an audience that's really interested. But Michal Ledwith said to this young manifesting master, he was explaining what the dilemma is in the West. After World War II, a mother had her child had died in the bombings, and she somehow made her way to the Pope, and she said, "Holy Father, make him live." You know, she had that faith in the Pope, but I'm sure the Pope didn't have the capacity, and he turned away. And what they're saying is that at a certain point, if you've suffered enough, even if you're just a lowly, regular person, like we are here on public access, going both ways, because what I feel the media of the future is where the audience is as empowered as those who are putting information out there. And at rabbitholecentral.tv, I hope to bring other producers here and offer them an interactive platform. And I'm going to be looking for those producers who most love people, that they really want to hear from people, and they don't want to put just their trip or will on them. And I think all of us have to be aware of this, that we all have this tendency to want people to acquiesce to what we feel is right because we feel more comfortable about it. But in truth, wouldn't you rather have somebody to do something that you want them to do? Not because of your authority and your willpower or the fact that they're afraid of you or they want a reward from you, but because they understand what it is that you want them to do. And those are called connections of empathy. But in any case, this idea of the Pope not being able to raise the child means that whatever it was that captured the ages about Jesus Christ, because there's good arguments that he never lived and there's no historical evidence for him, and I've looked at the material and it's impressive. Tony Bushby, the Bible fraud, is who I'd direct you to. But be that as it may, something has grabbed the attention of the masses, and it wasn't something just 2,000 years ago. We've also have a body of knowledge put together by a man named Massey, and I can get those books and show it to you, and something I hope to be developing in the future. Because again, the future is going to be about interaction. There's not going to be a lot of blah, blah, blah from my side. I'm going to have enough blah, blah, blah that I try to get you to think, or stimulated enough or upset enough or whatever. Even if you don't agree with me, at least you'll get on the telephone and call me up and express your views. But let me explain right now about the swastika. The swastika is a yantra. A yantra is part of Tantra. Mantra and yantra produces Tantra. Tantra is the ability to put your consciousness into creation, your intention, and you change creation however you want it to change. The great masters, by the time they were able to do that, had already achieved a stature and a harmony with nature that they, it really wasn't about their willpower over nature. It was more about a blending and an understanding and an operating their intention coming from that profound a level. So of course it's going to meet with greater success because they're vibrating with all of creation. And that's what's so exciting about putting your attention on the lives of the masters. But the greatest masters will take your attention away from them, and it'll turn it around and say, now you take the responsibility. And that's why one of my viewers pointed out, what is this about the Divine Mother? Because if you focus on the Divine Mother, and you're always going to stay a child. Sometimes God is my sister or brother, sometimes God is my mother, sometimes God is my child. Now you think, ooh, how arrogant to say God is your child. But what that means is you are taking upon yourself responsibility. You're saying, if this thing is going to happen, I'm not going to sit there and wait for, money to drop from heaven. I'm just going to go out and do it. And so these are some of the mechanisms of how you create your reality, Tantra. And the ways that have been left in the ancient traditions, of the traditions of the great work, fall into two major categories of assistance, and that is mantras and yantras. Mantras produce a soothing quality and an expansion quality. Expansion because it means you're not all frightened and twisted up and confused. Just for a moment, you put your attention on this vibration and it relaxes things, you expand, and as a result of expansion, you can comprehend more. You can comprehend so much that you get to a certain place, you say, oh man, it's just so perfect and groovy, I don't have to do anything. And that's why there is a relationship between people who, get high on a lot of drugs and they're just so mellow. And as long as you don't interrupt their drug supply, they're fine. But of course, nature is ever pushing you on, so there's always turbulence in the drug supply. And people say, hey, you know what? Maybe I can go for more independence, for more self-sufficiency. And then the search starts on the spiritual path to go beyond drugs. And let's see, something I heard, there were three powerful things: mantras, herbs, and gemstones. And all of these, particularly herbs and gemstones, would be very physical. And this physicality would be something you'd probably lump into the category of power objects because they're physical expressions. But even mantras, even the words, there's a physicality to the word. And that's why the deepest science is the science of name and form. And I think we, in this tradition of the West, know about abracadabra and the magic. You say certain words and you produce things. This is all part of the deal. Now, there's thousands and thousands of mantras, but there's only hundreds of yantras, and those are the visuals. I've taken you around Gramercy Park now and then, and I've showed you embedded into the tile work some swastikas, and these clearly are pre-Germany and Nazi, because we now are so conditioned, we've been so hypnotized over what happened in World War II, and some people are starting to wake up out of it. And Webster Tarpley, his book about George Bush, the unauthorized biography that shows the Bush connection to the Nazi money and so on. Even how the Nazis were sort of fanned up here from New York City because of this belief in eugenics, that you had some powerful people who I'm sure were really believing in eugenics and breeding a better person, and that we had too many people and we had to eliminate people. And I think it's very well known at WBAI and those in the African history area that there was sterilization of black people and retarded people and mentally handicapped people. But this is an enormous topic. I don't think I want to cover that today. But what I do want to cover is the swastika and explain why I have this yantra up here. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is, whoops, I want to see if I can switch over. Yeah. I want to switch over and explain this yantra. This is called the cross of transmutation, the fiery cross, and imagine that it's a cross. Vertical usually means, let me twist it like that so you out there in TV land get a feeling. Vertical means spiritual, heaven to earth, and horizontal means the material. So the idea of the cross is a very old idea, that you bring the spiritual and the material together. And the Christian cross is a little bit longer at the bottom, and some claim came 400 years after Jesus. So Tony Bushby and the Bible Fraud will talk about that. This way you see this swastika is not how you'll see it all over India, and it's not how you'll see it with Adolf Hitler if you study the Third Reich. They both have it the other way. I have it this way because I'm imagining as a fiery cross, these arms here are flames, and so the cross is spinning. So imagine the flames coming off the opposite direction of how it's spinning. Therefore you can see that this swastika, this cross, this fiery cross, is spinning to the right. And for me, I'm comfortable with the right hand spin, even though it appears that the swastika is facing to the left. So Hitler had it the other direction. All of India has it the other direction. Deepak Chopra is not right on that. He says that Hitler has it different. Anybody, this is an example. Don't listen to authority. Go out and look yourself. Next to this are my father's x-rays. In December, he had cancer scraped off his spine, and he had 6 pins put in it. And all of this drama started when he took a PSA test and got very invested in a number. Started taking, I believe, testosterone-lowering medication. This was when he had a spill close, a couple of weeks after he came home, and I think they had to inject some kind of glue into it. In any case, in December, we didn't think he was going to live long. They sent him home. I went out with my video camera to record, things about the history of our family, because I think many parents don't realize how much they know until it's the end of their life, and they realize they never really had a chance to tell their kids how much, much about their history. African Americans know that history has been denied to them because you can keep people as slaves more easily if they have no idea about their traditions and cultures. So I'm not exactly sure where the cancer was, but these rods were propping his spine up. This is another x-ray. They sent him home pretty much, I guess, figuring he'd die pretty soon, and the doctors knew that the medicine he was taking was really awful, painful. And they said, don't even bother taking it anymore. And lo and behold, my dad stopped taking his medicine, and today he is walking. He's walking practically without a cane. And later on, what I'll do is I will I'll roll in post-production a picture of my dad today. He looks really good. Now, we don't talk about these things too much because he is an immigrant. He came over after World War II, after he was a fighter pilot for the British. He told me when he was in South Africa and he saw a German plane coming, he knew the German planes were better than the British planes, so he went the other way. I was always so ashamed of my dad because I thought, I want a war hero for a dad. I want a dad who's going to, shoot and fight down Germans, shoot them out of the air. And really, I must say, that was a theme that was running so deep that it wasn't until I started reading Webster Tarpley and started realizing the history of World War II and how we got involved in World War II that I was really happy that my dad went the other way. It appears that there was one man named Rudolf Hess, not Heuss. Heuss was involved with the concentration camps, and later on in the Nuremberg trials, he got busted, and I don't know if they killed him or what, but there's another guy named Hess that wasn't involved with these horrible crimes, and had actually taken a little airplane. He flew a little airplane by himself over to England before World War II, jumped out of the airplane with a parachute that he used for the first time, trying to reach the British peace movement and skirt around Winston Churchill. But he was caught, he broke his ankle, and eventually at Nuremberg they tried him for these really bad crimes that he didn't do. All he was trying to do, I guess, was to start the peace thing going and point out some of the propaganda that was being told. And I'm hoping I can work with Gloria Messer because she's a longtime public access producer. I want to go to downtown New York and I want to take pictures of the very buildings of the powerful people that were in cahoots with the big German industrialists and got them interested in eugenics, which was breeding a better person, an Übermensch. It started in this country. Even the Natural History Museum had some of the first conferences on this. And later on, they went shopping for patsies, and they came up with Adolf Hitler in Germany. And so, but I've also pointed out that what are you going to do? Because today, people who've inherited this money, they have no idea how it came. And, like in the case of Avril Harriman's grandniece, I don't want to tell her. I don't want to tell a woman who's been living in a certain way and talking about the fox hunt. And I was so delighted that I was able to bring to the Manhattan audience her story. And one of the ladies who I'm hoping will be a prospective sponsor for my show and is a staunch vegetarian and animal rights person said that she had some empathy with Mrs. John Harriman, or Hannum, who's related to Avril Harriman, that for the first time she got to understand her love for the hunt, because this is a very earthy thing to go out and fox hunt. And so this is what I'm trying to do with this show, is show both sides, show all sides, show the faces of those who are on the top, and show Luke Rudowski, who's, going up to David Rockefeller's and saying, we don't want to be part of a new world order, and we want things better. You can see the seeds of discontent are really boiling up. You see, Giuliani was caught lying. He told Peter Jennings one thing, that he was told that the towers were going to come down and to get out. And he told Sabrina Rivera, who's going to be a guest on my show, he told her differently. He said he didn't know that the towers were going to come down. So if I can encourage my audience to hold a steady focus, then we will be on our way to doing true Tantra, which is creating new realities. Another thing I want to mention, I think I've got a few minutes here, is with this swastika, I was a guest on Harold Channer's show, and Harold Channer had a picture of me, and the swastika was behind it. And when I saw he was going to send it out to about 1,000 of his viewers, I said, could you create a link so that will go on a YouTube posting of a show that I did that I really, really liked, one of my best shows called Redlining and Tantra. Red-lining, L-I-N-I-N-G, Redlining and Tantra. And it talks about Robert Moses and how Manhattan was chopped up for the automobile, how it gave us greater convenience to quickly get out to Jones Beach, but at the same time it destroyed neighborhoods and a great ethnicity here in New York. So anyway, Harold sent this out, the link was there, and one of my favorite shows was sort of languishing on my youtube.com/Paula Gloria site. After Harold sent this out to 1,000 people, the next day I had 300 more hits, which to me is really indicates what loyal subscribers Harold Channer has, because the click-through rate was phenomenal. And since that time it's been off to the races. It's approaching 5,000 hits now, and I would encourage you out there in TV land to take a look at it. Redlining and Tantra. You can just go to youtube.com and put that in the search engine, or go directly to my site, youtube.com/Paula Gloria. But I want to encourage you to participate in my live call-in, which is going to follow this show, every 12 noon in Manhattan at rabbitholecentral.tv. Oh, I wonder who that is. Hello? Who's this? Hey Joe, you're on TV, but I can't quite figure out how to make it blast in. Here, let me stop the cameras. So anyway, that was Joe Friendly. He's trying to help me out with the technicals here. And although I can produce this show, and you can hear me, I haven't figured out yet how to make the telephone part work. But, you know, all of that is coming in time. So, again, I encourage you to go to rabbitholecentral.tv. Here we are at Rabbit Hole Central. And I hope I've explained the swastika. And usually when I shoot here at the studio, I have people push this way. And I kind of like them to be away from the swastika so they're closer, so you can see this interesting background, because there's bricks behind. And I don't know, being from California, it's just sort of a turn on to see bricks, because the houses there are not built to withstand cold winters, because it doesn't get cold. One California joke was, do you know why Californians always get so divorced, or they get divorced so much? They're always changing their spouses. They say because the weather never changes, and they need change in their life. So there you are, a joke, a California joke. Another one is that's relevant to me because I'm from Berkeley, is how do you tell, what's the difference between a formal wedding and an informal wedding in California? At a formal wedding, the bride wears clothes. So that's an interesting joke about, transparency. And that's something that I had hoped to do. I don't know if I actually will do it. The sunrise salutation and being able to say sun mantras as you watch the sun come up over the East River is something that has been of such enormous spiritual benefit for me, and it's kept me going so much. And it's something I would love to share with people. Also, I went through a little drama with the mammogram myself, and in future shows at rabbitholecentral.tv, when I feel a nice connection with my audience, and I'd like to go more deeply into that topic, because I know a lot of women are suffering horribly over these diagnoses that gets them going down a track that might not be beneficial for their health. In the case of my father, we don't talk much about my beliefs versus his. He's a Greek immigrant. He's very grateful to be in this country. My mom went over with the Marshall Plan, which Webster Tarpley said has, if there's any goodwill left towards America in the world, it's because of things like the Marshall Plan. And the idea was to reconstruct Europe so that it didn't fall into the hands of evil communism. In any case, I'm a product of the Marshall Plan. And my father's very grateful to be in this country. And he doesn't want to have suspicions and doubts about his health care. But he stops taking the medicine and he gets better. And it makes me really think very carefully about what Michael Ellner said. Some of the things Michael Ellner used to say years ago, I thought were crazy. But Michael said, if you're in a concentration camp, at least you know you're in a concentration camp. But with our health care, the way people are meeting these painful deaths, it's really awful. And I know a lot of people will just switch the channel and they'll say, I don't want to have anything to do with this crazy lady. But I ask you to consider, isn't it insane how long we've been in this war? Isn't it insane how we know who is benefiting? These no bid contracts going on. At Nuremberg, they were indicting people saying, well, you were subscribed to the foreign publications, and the foreign publications said the concentration camps were happening. Well, Mr. and Mrs. American, you know about Abu Ghraib. You know about Guantanamo Bay. So you can't feign ignorance. And what I'm trying to do is not throw mud in your face and make you feel bad and horrible about all of this, but to say we can stay connected, we can work together. And whether we're Luke Radowski, who is, harassing David Rockefeller, okay, it's not the best strategy to create connections of empathy to call someone scum and trash. I do not agree with that. But I had his spot on my show because I think he got 80,000 hits to say, hey, look it, this is what's happening out in the world. You've got a lot of people that are upset, and corporate media and the news is not showing you that. They're just lulling you into complacency to buy more products. But I'm also showing Avril Harriman's grandniece, to say she doesn't know that the money came from the Nazi blood stuff going on. So if we can keep working together, keep staying connected, and that includes the people who, from Howard Stern, who were punking me and harassing me, well, you're going to have your opportunity again if you have the courage to do it. Log on to rabbitholecentral.tv, and I'm all about transparency, unless it's something super horrible, because I think because I have a daytime show, I can't show nasty things or say bad words, but I will try to show it all. So I don't want to hide because I want to learn from you. So anyway, this is Paula Gloria, and this has been an episode of Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. And I'm encouraging you now to log on to rabbitholecentral.tv, and I hope I'll be joined by Joe Friendly. And we can talk about the whole sun sign thing, because this is exactly 6 months from my birthday. I'm now closer to 60 than 50 once this airs.